Grace. Welcome to another video. So it has been kind of a long time since I've done a book review. I've been reading a lot. I thought, why not do a book review mashup, because I've read a lot of books, I have some things to say about them, and I kind of want to make it quick, so book review mashup. I have a few books that I've read in late 2014 and early 2015, and if you want to just see a particular book review, I will also leave annotations if I figure that out on the screen. And then if you're also on a mobile, I will leave time information down below for each book review, so that way you can just pick and choose reviews that you'll want to see. And if you want to look into a book that I talk about further, I will leave all of its information down in the description box below, and all of these reviews will be spoiler free. And so without further ado, here is my book review mashup. Numero 1. The first book I want to talk about is Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Look, my nails match the shoe. This is a fantasy sci-fi retelling of the classical fairy tale story Cinderella, and I actually really enjoyed this. This is about a girl named Cinder, and she's a cyborg. This wasn't as Cinderella-ish as I thought it would be, and I really liked it that way. Cinder, the main character, seemed more of a heroine than actually a fairy tale princess character who's being rescued by tons of people and herself, but Cinder just seemed more like a hero than she was someone being saved by Prince Kai, and so I really liked that aspect of the book, and overall I really enjoyed it. Next, I want to talk about a book that I just finished, and it is Suspicion by Alexandra Monir, and I actually really enjoyed it. I know some people were saying that the middle to end parts were really weird. I felt that it was good overall. There were definitely some issues. This was actually sent to me by a PR publicist who's actually a really great friend of mine. This is about a girl named Imogen who is a descendant of one of the greatest dukes in England, and when she was a little kid she was visiting her grandpa the Duke, and then she discovers that she has these elemental powers. One of my biggest problems with this book was the insta-love. Even though Imogen falls in love with a family friend who she already had a crush on as a little girl, 7 years later she comes back completely changed, and the dude falls in love with her 2 seconds later after saying hi to her, and then he's like, oh, I love you so much, it's so great to see you again, I missed you so much, I always knew you were the one, right? I always suspected him to be the bad guy, but he never was, and I was really disappointed by that because I kind of wanted him to be the one who screwed up because I didn't like him that much. None of the characters in this book were really lovable, but I just liked it for some reason. The next book that I want to talk about is The Jewel by Amy Ewing. HarperCollins sent this to me for review. This was actually one of my most anticipated reads of 2014, and I have to say I was very disappointed by this book. There was just so much insta-love, and the fact that Violet Lasting, the main character of this book, was carrying someone else's child so that way the people in her society would not have to give birth really did not go with my beliefs, and it just wasn't for me. And I knew of this with the synopsis, but I did not know that the book would go in that direction. I didn't think it would be like that vivid, and I know some people do not like books that are sugar-coated, but I surely would have appreciated that this would have been sugar-coated a bit because it was a little, you know, vivid. And I thought that she was gonna fall in love with a different guy than the guy she actually fell in love with. The guy she fell in love with, his name was like, I don't even remember his name. Oh, his name was Ash. He swooped in and then took Violet, and then the next thing you know, they're doing things. The next book I also want to talk about is The Testing by Joelle Charbonneau. The publisher was kind enough to send me the entire trilogy, which I was really surprised by, and I was so honored. I was so excited to read this because I know the author is from where I'm from, which is Chicago, and so I felt like, oh, homies, you know, not really, but homies. I had super high expectations going into this book, and so many people were telling me that they absolutely loved this book. I wanted to love this book, but really it fell flat. Like I was talking about earlier with The Jewel about sugarcoating, this one needed much less sugarcoating. It's definitely a combination of pretty much all the dystopian books I've ever read, and I don't know if I mean that as a compliment or not. With so many similarities to so many books, I really think the book would have been so much better if there had not been so much sugarcoating. I really did not like any of the characters in this book either. The main character, Sia, she clearly states that in this untrustworthy society, the person that she trusts most is her father. She looks up to her father so much. She knows he's experienced things. He's gone through the testing. He's done everything. She trusts him because of his life experiences. But then when her father tells her not to trust anyone, she goes on trusting someone that she barely knows, even though she's seen him in town a lot. I don't understand! Why won't you listen to your father? I get it. There will be no love story if you just don't trust this guy. But don't trust the guy! Can you see my frustration? There were so many similarities in this book to The Giver, Divergent, and The Hunger Games. The fact that they're being tested, that's Divergent. The fact that they're being fit for like the university to serve for the country leader, that's so much like The Giver. And then the fact that they have to go through this test on land to get to the capital of this country, that's so The Hunger Games. Even though it's like a test, it's still The Hunger Games because you have to go through these vigorous landings. Is this even legal? I feel like there are so many copies, it's not even funny. I'm trying not to say this in a really negative way. So much frustration with this book. The next book I want to talk about is Nil by Lynne Matson, and it's upside down. I actually got to meet Lynne Matson, and she signed my copy of Nil at the Mighty Mississippi Book Blast back when I lived in Chicago. Lynne also gave me another copy of Nil to give away, and I'm gonna give this away soon, I promise. This one has an annotated page and is as well signed. Whoever gets this one, I give this away. Go you. The basic concept of this book is that there's this mysterious island called Nil, and there are these teenagers from ages 12 to like 18 who land on this mysterious island from these flashes of light, and they have 365 days to catch a flash of light that's called a gate. You die if you do not get off the island with the mysterious light flash before day 365. So then we have our main character Charlie, who gets picked up, lands in this island, and sees these villagers on the island doing things like normal people would do back in the BC days, and so she's really confused, and then she meets this guy, and like I love to say, things happen. I really enjoyed this. I've never read anything like this. Because of the concept, I was a little bit confused at times, and also it carried one of the elements that I just really despise, and that is insta-love. Because of the concept of this book, I can understand the reason why there is insta-love more, but there still is insta-love. And the insta-love is because you only have 365 days until you die, or before you escape, and then you may never ever see a person that you just fell in love with again. The next book I want to talk about is The Secret Diamond Sisters by Michelle Madow and Diamonds in the Rough by Michelle Madow. These are the first two books in the Secret Diamonds trilogy, and reading these books is like watching reality TV. No exaggeration. These books are about three teenage girls, Savannah, Courtney, and Peyton, and they are daughters of this billionaire hotel owner. They don't know this until they're like 16, 17, and 18. Before they knew about their father, they were living very poorly, and then they are abruptly thrown into this lifestyle of living in Las Vegas and hotels, and they meet people like these super rich, smart people that go to this really good private school. And then these books are basically about their experiences in living the hotel lifestyle with other teenagers their age and going to the school. And they read really, really fast, even though they look so thick. I have mixed feelings about these books. I feel like there is no plot line. Another thing is that I really don't like the characters, but I love what happens to them because it's like reality TV. Like, you can literally call it Keeping Up with the Diamond Sisters. Keeping Up with the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Diamond Sisters. It's almost like that. I like it in that way, but I don't love it because of that. And the last book I want to talk about is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This is the second Colleen Hoover book that I've ever read, and I read this really, really late 2014. I really enjoyed this book, surprisingly. Going into this book, I knew that there was a lot of sexual activity, and I knew that I would be a little thrown off because I've never read a book with so much sexual activity. That's the entire reason why I stay in the young adult genre usually, but I am branching out into adult and new adult books. Immediately I noticed that there was just this darkness to this book, but it was also really intriguing and I liked it actually. And so basically this is about a woman named Tate and a guy named Miles, and basically what happens is that Tate is trying to figure out what her career is gonna be. She's gonna be a nurse, and so she doesn't have a place at the moment, and so she goes in to live with her brother, but then she finds this guy drunk out of his mind standing at her brother's apartment door. She has to take care of him because the guy drunk outside her brother's door is actually a really good friend of her brother. They have to kind of converse with each other while she's taking care of him for like that one night. And then somehow Miles starts hanging out with her and her brother for apparent reasons, and then this relationship, not exactly romantic relationship, happens. It's basically where they just have sex with each other, but it's not a romantic relationship. I felt like that was a really big similarity to what I've heard about 50 Shades of Grey, and I felt like I was reading a milder 50 Shades of Grey. What confused me was that all they were doing was having sex, but then they actually turned out to like get to know each other and love each other, and so I was a little bit confused by that. I know that I'm a little bit young to understand this. I'm just gonna leave my thoughts at that. So yeah, that was my review mashup numero 1. I hope you really liked it. tell me down in the comments below if you would like to see more review mashups instead of just single video reviews. I try to respond to all of your comments as soon as possible, but it's just not working. But I do respond to all of my comments as quickly as possible, so leave me a comment down below. And so if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you liked it even more, please subscribe to my channel. My name's Grace. I'll see you in another video. Bye!